My guest today is Libby Wildman. She spent 30 years helping families talk about money, the conversations most of us avoid until a crisis forces them. She runs wealth advisory at Davis Rea in Toronto and founded a community called The Collective. Libby, welcome.
Thanks, Henrik.
You wrote something that stuck, that many families worry about passing money down and ruining their kids, but the bigger problem is parents who overfund the next generation. So, two ways: they wreck their own retirement and they take away their kids' sense of purpose. So, can you start there? What do you see?
Often parents feel very pressured to give money to the next generation. And on the flip side of that, certainly not the way I grew up, but there are parents who really feel that because they struggled in their life, they don't want their kids to struggle. And therefore, they overgive. They say, well, I'll help you buy that house. I'll pay for your kids' education. I mean, the stats in Toronto, Canada, where I'm from, is that 70% of adult children buying homes have help from their parents. And often that's to the detriment of their parents, who then have to keep working or take a mortgage against their home that used to be mortgage free, or start to live a lifestyle that they're worried they won't be able to maintain.
And what about the purpose? You said removing the need to earn a living can make it hard for adult children to sort of find their way, that we all have a gift and a
Yeah.
quest. How does a parent pass on money without taking the quest away?
Yeah, Toronto is the most multinational city in the world. So we have a lot of immigrants who came perhaps as bricklayers. And again, because they struggled in their life, and those that became very wealthy, they chose to take the struggle away from their children and their grandchildren because they felt that was the right thing to do. And then when I'm speaking to the grandparent or the parent, and they say, what is wrong with my kids? They have no fire in the belly. And then, we get into the discussion around, well, you have given them everything monetarily that they could possibly ever want. You bought them a house, you've set up a trust fund. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think it is harder for humans to find out what their gift and their purpose is if they wake up every day and they truly have no need to earn an income. And we live in a society, particularly in North America, of consumerism, and where we judge ourselves and define our success by how much money we make or by the size of the house that we own. And what I find is this younger generation thinks that the quest in life is to make as much money as they can. The mentoring that I am doing is actually building your best life is the quest. And then how does money fit into supporting that life? And so when a parent or a grandparent really takes away that need for a child, an adult child, to have to show up and find a job or finish their education, or if they fail school, experience the struggle of, oh my God, what will I do for money for rent? If that's taken away, I just think from a human point of view, it's more difficult for us to stand up and feel proud of ourselves and define that.
So, when does the right time come to start these conversations between the generations?
Love to start it with young kids. If they get an allowance, perhaps you can say to the kids, out of your allowance, here are the chores that, we expect you to do. And out of every dollar that you earn, perhaps we'll set aside 30 cents to give away to a cause that you might like. Maybe that's orphan children, maybe it's people who don't have enough food. And then maybe, 30 cents goes towards savings for something you might want to buy, like a bike. And then the remaining 40 cents is for you to spend with no guilt, because we can also pass on this guilt. One of the places I like to start with families is to say, what is money like in your family culture? Are you allowed to talk about it? Is that all you talk about? I worked with one young woman who was 30 and she was constantly in debt. And after a couple of coaching sessions, We found out that when she was young and she was sad, her dad used to give her a credit card and say, there, go buy a dress. It'll make you feel better. So she equated love and a sense of comfort with being able to go and buy things. So it's never too early to talk about money and your value set behind.
And what changes in how someone should think about money in their 60s, 70s, 80s? Is the goal still growth or something else?
We've had a number of clients who have sold their businesses recently and, thus retired. And it is a very difficult step to go from your net worth growing and having access to earned income to now living off of what you have. And so there's this dichotomy with some where they're worried they don't have enough. And with others, they actually have this problem with spending the money because they miss this ability to earn it. And how are we moving from money being our purpose, who we are, the definition of our success, to actually now supporting us during our lifetime and the lifestyle that we want to create. So in our 60s and 70s, money becomes this completely different object in how we feel about ourselves, because often you've reached the limit of what your net worth is going to be. So you go from the growth mode into how do you actually enjoy this without worry or without guilt.
You teach 7 perspectives of wealth: economic plus community, family and social, spiritual, physical health, adventure, impact. Which one do people neglect the most in their 60s and 70s, and which can quietly become the most important?
Well, that's difficult because I actually think that all of those perspectives of wealth, I like to think of them as a symbiotic circle, and that to function as a human, we need a little bit of all of those things. I think what often happens as we get older, and particularly if you've been an entrepreneur or very successful, that you have actually ignored your health. And so that can catch up with you. And again, in North America, even in Canada, where we have a really a socialistic medical care where things are paid for, moving into a retirement home or a long-term care home can be very, very expensive. So there is this concern over people that neglected their health while they were building their wealth. And will they run out of money during these years of not good health? I mean, they say in the last 6 months of your life that you can spend almost half of what you're worth because it's just, Alzheimer's and dementia. I think that's probably the biggest fear that in North America people have of happening to them, and the expense of having round the clock care. For wealthy families, it can be $30,000 to $40,000 a month, and that can wipe out the legacy that they want to leave to their children. It's a very complicated thing when you're older because you really worry about things in a much different way than when you're younger.
If you could get every family to do one thing before a parent's health declines, what would it be? And what's the one thing they should not do that everyone does?
Yeah. I think it's really important that if we are passing on wealth, that we have a conversation around our value set. So that if I am going to help my children or grandchildren with money, that there is a conversation around, as a family, what do we stand for? And as a family, what does this money mean? So, again, do we support some causes in the world that we would like to potentially be a part of solving? Do we put some money aside for the future in case there is a change of health? You be careful of debt. So, I just think having a open conversation around why am I giving you money, or actually perhaps why am I not giving you money? Some clients will give all of their money to charity. They don't believe in giving money to the next generation. So I think the most important thing is actually having that conversation before dementia or illness or a death so that the next generation understands the thinking. And sometimes that's just it's too late because the parent is ill, and then the parent really worries about, if I don't give money to the children, will they look after me while I'm ill? Like their money is such a powerful thing for good and for bad, that I just think talking in communicating and being open to ideas, but still maintaining your sovereignty because it is your money and you can do whatever you want with it.
Libby, thank you. Where can people find you and the collective?
Well, the easiest way is just www.libbywildman.com. And we're very big on helping entrepreneurs finding community from all over the world. And my purpose is to connect people with others who can help them. So I'm very open to anyone reaching out on LinkedIn.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Henrik.